I'm going to go through and clean this up one more time, wipe it down, blow it out good with air, wipe it down with paper towels, not a rag. Clean the crank up. That's been sitting in oven cleaner pretty much all day. The crank was really bad. The inside of the engine was really bad. Doesn't look like anybody ever changed the oil. But all the bearings and the bearing surfaces, they were all pretty good. So I'm just going to clean it up quick, blow it down, and then I'll start fitting up the crank. So I'm going to clean it up and I'll be back. Got the crank all cleaned up. Still a little bit I got to clean up, but it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. All the bearing surfaces look good. Nice and smooth, no grooves. So next thing I'm going to do is wipe all these down with some carburetor cleaner, paper towel, blow it off, then stick the main bearings in. And I'll stick the crank in, wipe all the caps down, put the plastic gauge in, tighten everything down. I don't have a bore gauge. The plastic gauge gives you a good idea. It's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty decent. So I'm just going to use that. I'll get these wiped down. And when you're checking the clearances, you don't want any oil. And you don't want oil underneath the bearings. So you put everything together nice and dry. So I'll grab the bearings, start sticking them in. Got all the bearings wiped down. Everything's clean. That's clean. I'll stick them in. The ones with the groove go on the bottom. You just line the tang up, the tang, and push them in. These are sealed power mains. Make sure your tops are flush. The thrust bearing goes in the middle. Okay, got all the mains in the block. Now stick the crank in. Just be very careful. Set it straight down, don't turn it. Okay, got the crank sitting in. Next we'll put the bearings in the caps. Make sure to keep them in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put the bearings in the caps. Got all the bearings in the caps. And I'll grab a plastic gauge. One side's millimeters, the other side's inches. All you do is just rip a small piece off, lay it on the main, put the cap on. So we'll do that for all of them, then we'll tighten them all down. Bearing cap 1. I always put a little oil in the bolts. Don't need much, just a light coating. I just brought the bolts down to a touch, so I tapped the main down with a plastic hammer. So we'll put the rest of them on, then we'll torque them down, pull it off, and see what the plastic gauge looks like. Just want to stick it. Kind of hard to see. Right there, and put the cap on. That's number. Got all the bearing caps on, all snug down. Now I'm going to torque them to spec, take them back off, and then use that gauge to see what the clearance is. So torque them down. So we're going to torque them all to 15 degrees first, or 15 foot-pounds. Now the innards get torqued to 80 degrees and the outside to 53 degrees. Bring it up against the side. It's kind of hard. Set it to 0. And then you go 80 degrees. Well, that's not really working too well. Obviously, this thing's a piece of junk. It doesn't work. Since my degree wheel is a piece of junk, I'll just use that. So, let's put a little tension on it. Line that up. Just lock it in. Turn it to 80 degrees. All I'm doing is making sure the gap is even, and then taking it to 80 degrees. Next we'll do the outer ones to 53 degrees. Okay. There, they all should be torqued. Nope. Take them all back off. Okay. They're all off. So now all you do is mark it up with that. Looks to be about 15 thousandths. That one's too big. That one's a touch too small. So yeah. Just double check them all. They all look pretty much the same. So I say it's pretty good. I said it's not no dead on measurement. It's definitely a lot better to use a bore gauge and a set of calipers. But I sold all that stuff a long time ago. But looks like they'll all be fine. Pull the crank out. Put some oil on it. Put it back in. And fix that stupid gauge that don't work. What a piece of junk. So, clean all that stuff off. So I'll pull the crank back out, clean it all off. And I'll be back to put it in.